Alrighty, welcome back to Masters of Brickjitzu. This is our final Garmadon review. It's really exciting. We also have Vuong with us as well, the writer of Garmadon, the man, the myth, the legend himself. He is with us, and we are super excited to break this comic book down and discuss with him and kind of get a little bit more of a inside view of this final issue, and it's going to be awesome.
Oh, thanks for having me on, guys.
Of course,
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming. Kyle, what happened in this book? Catch people up if they're not reading, which they shouldn't not be reading.
Well, if you haven't been reading up to this point, this is the conclusion issue right here, issue 5, the big grand finale, and it was a really exciting issue, just a fantastic one for everything. You get a great sense of catharsis by the end of this issue, where you really just get to see everything come to a head in the most epic way. So it sort of starts off with obviously this conflict that has been set up right now with Magra against Garmadon, against this village, and it sort of all just comes together in this epic finale battle, like that was just done so well. It's just every single page had me just engrossed into it. It was honestly fantastic. I also love how in the issue as well, it still keeps it so personal to Garmadon. That's what's been so great about this story, is that it really just has the perfect balance between feeling like such an epic story and then also having Garmadon still be the focus character here. You still feel so much development for him as well, which is just super impressive from a story perspective. The art's fantastic in this one. You get some great moments, a lot of bears as well in this story, which is super cool in this issue in particular. So I really enjoyed that, of course, from a personal perspective. And yeah, it was just fantastic. It's a really great issue overall.
I just, we're very impressed with the fact that rather than trying to do anything like world-shaking, world-ending, it's more of a personal story at the end of the day of Garmadon coming to terms with his own villainy, I guess, and lack thereof, and the idea that he can be good. And that was awesome to see.
Yeah, well, it's great to hear that it landed in the way that I was hoping it would, because we weren't sure. Like, we weren't sure if this was gonna be too much or too little, really. So yeah, that it's really nice to hear that you guys enjoyed it.
Absolutely, it was great to see all of the characters come back, right? And it was just amazing to see, that personal struggle with Garmadon throughout this whole entire issue, and that it was carried in from the beginning so well and ended very well. And another thing is, it's like it was a very grounded story. It felt well rounded, and the ending was cute. It was fun, I feel like for as a Ninjago fan, as like older Ninjago fan growing up with this character. This character's been here from the beginning. That I thought he was handled extremely well, especially from season 8. When he was resurrected, because that's kind of essentially a new Garmadon. It's a complete evil one, and a zombie, not really knowing what's going on in the world. So it's really cool to see your take on that, and it's great to see it translate so well in the comic, right? And I thought the way everything wrapped up in the end was cool. I kind of wish it kind of went with the season, in my opinion, but that's just for me. But as a whole, it was fantastic, and I really hope that you are going to do more. If they do more, I hope that you are the one that is forefronting the whole thing. I think it's fantastic.
Thank you. I mean, I definitely feel like an attachment to this character now. Like, he's obviously not my creation, but I feel like we've walked together for a while, and I would love to travel with him some more and see where he goes.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny you said that it kind of for the ending it sort of wraps everything up, and I was hoping that we kind of laid the path, but even until near the end of writing and drawing this first issue, there are still things that I was still kind of trying to figure out, because Garmadon's so mysterious. Like, he doesn't ever talks about what he really thinks or wants, and even when he does, I always felt like he doesn't even really know, because like you said, the season 8 Garmadon, which is I think the real the Garmadon that we know now, is almost like a whole new. He's almost like a baby. So in some ways, and it's him rediscovering himself. So he became like a really interesting voice to write because he's not a very trustworthy. He's a very straightforward, honest character, but he's also not very trustworthy because he doesn't know himself even. So
Yeah.
I thought that was quite fascinating. So I knew the story was about the question that keeps on coming back is sort of like, Garmadon, what are you doing? Like, why are you here? Like, what are you fighting for? And I didn't know what he was exactly wanted until the moment he actually finally says what he wants in issue 5.
Redemption. Yeah.
Yes, it took a while to like figure that out because originally it wasn't quite that. Yeah, took a while to figure it out.
Yeah, I like that. Like right before he even just like full out says it's redemption that he wants. He has a flash in his mind of just him holding Lloyd, and that's
Yeah.
just because I mean that's what he kind of just really wants is forgiveness of his son, right?
Yeah, I mean that's like no matter how bad you are, you can't escape those moments, right? So yeah, and he's not even that bad. I think.
No, he's not. And do you want to talk anyway about like Garmadon? He shows up with kind of a different Oni form at the end, with like horns that are out of the Lego head rather than the mask head.
Yeah. Well, my thought, I know there's another Garmadon form that appeared in Crystallized, which is pretty cool. I'd be curious to get your thoughts on that. My thinking was because between Crystallized and where our story takes place, it's a pretty big time window. Like for us to end up in Crystallized, I think it would have to be like a 50 issue series or something for that timeline to catch up. And by that point, that season would be much further down. So I was thinking just like there was this form that shows up, but it didn't feel quite right that it would be that form because I felt like it should sort of reflect like the sort of more of a harmony of all the elements of him because he's it just seems like it would have more of his quote unquote human form a little bit more. It would have some of his Oni form. And I kind of went with sort of a hybrid thing just to show that this is Sim sort of more at ease with himself, more at peace with himself. And hopefully it ended up looking kind of cool.
I thought it looked really cool. I don't know. It just looked very like feral, but yet at peace with himself in a way.
Yeah,
just with the longer
I thought
hair,
it's just sort of more of who he was.
Yeah,
like he has the white hair, so it's just more white hair, and then the horns I kind of took from his Oni form, but kind of toned it down a little bit because he's not full Oni. And then I thought I retained his minifig human shape because I feel like that's just more more of him in control of his faculties.
Yeah, I like that.
For sure. It was really cool too. Another thing is, and I think a lot of people miss this, but in Crystallized, there is a line where Garmadon says that that he recently helped people and he didn't know how to feel about it. And so that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was a reference to the comic. That was awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm really great that I'm hoping that that's in reference to the comic. But yeah. That's
We're
awesome.
pretty sure it is because he's talking to Vinny, who's the guy that he was talking to in season 10. So like when he says, I helped some people recently, like Vinny was with him when he helped in that situation.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, we're pretty sure it was your comic.
Awesome. Maybe one day they'll even say it explicitly. So that would be amazing.
The connection with the Serpentine War and Mogra I thought was really, really cool. Studying under Chen, I thought that was cool. I love the fact that was being brought up again, right? I thought that was really cool, and to see to learn more of the villain's backstory, was super cool. And I'm really happy that you connected it in such a key point of Ninjago. And it's really cool to see because we don't really know that much about the Serpentine War other than the flashbacks we saw in season 4. So it's really cool to see the fact that you kind of took it in your own way and was able to create some new lore out of the Serpentine War. I thought it was really cool. Were there any like why you chose that scene in particular or why you chose the Serpentine War in particular?
I think almost for the very reason you just mentioned, that it's brought up and we see a couple small moments in it, but it's probably got to be one of the. I'm trying to think of a more powerful formative event in Ninjago history that's been explicitly referenced in the show. And it seems like there was stuff that happened pre-Serpentine War and the stuff that happened after Serpentine War. That was like a huge sort of breaking point. And it seems like that's also the point for Garmadon where, I mean, it's so, like they only reference certain points, so you don't even exactly know where things in the timeline, but you know that during the Serpentine War, he was still mostly good, right? And then sometime after the Serpentine War, maybe the infection, the corruption takes over. Maybe something else happened. Maybe there's more. We don't know. It just seems like it's such a fertile ground to play with this story. And it also seemed like that was a time to sort of to place Magra into like that's a sort of a character from the past around that time when he was still kind of during his formative years that's where this villain would show in. That's sort of one thing that I do regret about the story was that we just didn't have enough time there was not enough space to dig in further into Magra's timeline and exactly so rather than we made the decision that rather than sort of shoehorn things in, let's just hint of a much bigger story that maybe will answer those questions later on. Who knows? And really give Garmadon the space for Garmadon to give him his time and space that he needs for the story.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of Magra, I loved his flashback look with the horned helmet. Is there anything that inspired that helmet look?
A little bit. I mean, in one hand, it kind of looks like Loki's helmet.
See, that's what we said the same thing.
And then on another end, it doesn't like I didn't really like sit down and say, oh, thematically this and that. It is kind of similar to because this idea of helmets is sort of littered. Like Min wears it at some point, but it's too big for her. But she's gonna hold on to it for some time. And Garmadon has a hat. This idea of headgear is kind of for some reason I didn't plan it to be. It seemed to be important. It seemed to identify be about identity. And I thought it was kind of interesting that Magra wears like a helmet with these almost Oni type horns.
Yeah.
And then when Garmadon becomes healed, he just has them naturally. It's not a helmet or anything like that. Yeah. It's just who he is, and he's just this natural, like hopefully regal and majestic horns. And now that I think about it, I guess I didn't want to give him the Oni horns because, they're were kind of the villains in season 10. Yeah. And I wanted to something kind of like this is sort of much more majestic. For this, sort of quote unquote good form of Garmadon.
I really love that because it like you said, and in the story, like Magra wants to be like Garmadon. So showing kind of that whether it was intentional or not, that symbolism of him wearing the helmet with the horns, and then Garmadon actually getting those horns, like actually having the power. Because all Magra wants is power and to be as cool, as awesome as Lord Garmadon, right? Yeah. And he wears his helmet and everything, and it's so cool to see like that mirror from the past to the present. I think that's so sick. I love that.
Yeah, so Magra is kind of like the basic bro of Garmadon. He's like got some of Garmadon's quality, like his ambition and lust for power, but not his depth, right? So it's like he can't ever quite be anything more than Magra, whereas Garmadon is kind of got all this other stuff to him. He's kind of evil, but then there's this tragedy to him. There's this regret about him. There's his connection with Lloyd that just makes him much more than Magra really can ever be. There's one thing about I would say there's one panel in issue 5 that I had. It was like a comical reaction for me when Magra hears this commotion going outside his castle, and there's all these bears there.
We
And I
love
was
the
like,
bears.
I was like, as I was drawing that page, I was like, why did I do this to myself? It's like,
I like that
like I
every bear
can't
had
even get mad at the
yeah,
writer. I just like, why did I draw? Why did I
every
say
single bear had a distinct face, like they're making an emotion, and we love
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Ah.
It was a hard day. Drawing many bears. Yeah.
What would you say, like when drawing a comic, like, is there any particular part of that process that is especially like a challenging thing, such as something like that, like having to draw distinct expressions for each character? Is there something particular that could be challenging?
The expressions were pretty okay, pretty natural actually. I think the minifigs were sort of naturally charming, anyways. I think sometimes the action was kind of hard, or even getting the characters to do certain things. Like the toy can't do them, right? But I needed to find a way to draw them in such a way where it looks like they could, like getting them to, like, if they were to kick, they could only kick like this. So if I were trying to draw them like throwing a roundhouse kick or I can't quite do it. So it had to be like sort of hidden in motion blur, or in the
Yeah.
or you pick a camera angle that looks cool and feels natural. But but there's, like, if I was trying to draw them doing the Jean-Claude Van Damme spin kick, like, I think it would just break the toy. It wouldn't even look like a Lego figure at all. Or even getting something. You know what? It's the legs. There, I said it.
Mhm.
Lego legs are extremely difficult, because even getting them to say kneel, like, let's say, or like, or crossing their legs. There's times in there where they cross their legs, but you'll take a quick look and you'll see that I never actually quite show it or how it's possibly done.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, I thought like the action is so well done. It feels like it really jumps off of the page. Like it felt very dynamic even with those restrictions put into it. And I think those even like help it feel even more unique, because you are working within the dynamics of like a Lego minifigure. And I think that kind of gives it a unique style. And I think that was really good. Very well done.
Yeah, I learned, I had to like figure out some new tricks. So it made me, like, work harder, and it ended up with something pretty interesting even for me, I think.
But I guess I'm sure there are probably people out there that are wanting to know if you've seen anything from Crystallized and how you feel about their interpretation of what they've done with Garmadon.
I haven't had a chance to watch the season in its entirety, but I have seen some YouTube clips. I've kind of looked them up. I kind of spoiled some stuff for myself. I thought the look they came up with for Garmadon really interesting. Actually, he had the wings. I also found it really interesting that they got rid of two of his arms. Right?
Yeah, we thought so too.
Is that so? He has no, like. Are there times when the forearms show up, or
he goes to the forearms when he goes to the Oni form.
Okay.
So anytime he's gonna fight, he goes back to the forearms.
Oh, so funny story, because I love that idea. Because there was in the very, very early, like issue 1, I was planning it out. I was drawing Garmadon with 4 arms, right? As he has 4 arms. And then I got an interesting like note back, and it's like, oh no, Garmadon only has 2 arms. Garmadon only has 2 arms until he enters his battle mode. Then he has 4 arms. I was like, well, that's
so funny.
That's new. And then sure later he's like, wait, forget I ever said that. Just Garmadon has 4 arms. So looking at thinking about it, like, they were not ready to spill the beans with what they were going to do with Crystallized, even for me at that point. So,
that's so funny.
Now that Crystallized came out, that email makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. I think they have him go to the 2 arms as like he wants to be more like people or whatever. Yeah. I think that's the idea.
I think that's great. I think that's I mean, Garmadon's so cool in that way that you can actually, like, his physical form reflects a lot of his emotional state.
Yeah,
and that there's so much room to play with that.
Well, thank you for stopping by and coming back on here, talking spoilers with us and listening to our rambles.
Oh no, thank you. It was a blast talking with you guys. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. But yeah,
Do you
so-
have anything that you want to plug? Any social media, any future works that you're working on?
Oh, well, I mean, I have an Instagram at Vuong. For future works, there's nothing I can say yet, but I'll post it on Instagram when I can. And yeah, and mostly I appreciate the fan support for Garmadon, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. And then I guess the collection will be coming out in November sometime.
Yes, November 16th.
Yeah, that's right.
So make sure you go pick that up at somewhere where it's going to be. It'll be on the screen now where it's going. Yes, there. It's going there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, thanks a lot, guys.